Hey guys, it's Dustin. Welcome back to the channel. As always, thanks for hanging out with me. Today I've got a match between Ryan and I. Ryan is playing Orcust with Phantom Knights, and I'm playing Time Thief Numeron. Ryan rolls a 7, and I roll a 5. Looks like he's gonna go first. Let's do this. Ryan's gonna go first, as I mentioned. He starts off by setting a card and activating Danger Thunderbird in the hand. I like to roll a die to determine which card I'm going to pick, so I keep it random. He hates it when I do that. Discarded a Mothman, so he gets to special summon the Thunderbird and draw a card. And then Mothman's effect is going to trigger, which is going to let us both draw a card and discard a card. He discards Phantom Knight Silent Boots, and I discard a Psyframe Gamma. He normal summons Gearsu and attempts to activate the effect. And I activate the second copy of Gamma that I had in my hand. So it's going to negate the effect of Gearsu and destroy it. And I get a special summon the Psyframe Driver from the deck. And he thinks for a second. He special summons Jester Confit from the hand. And I was kind of second guessing at what the card did, so I had to read it. It's been a while since I'd seen it. He goes to banish the Phantom Knights of Silent Boots from the graveyard to search his deck for Phantom Knights of Shade Brigadine. Which he sets to the field, and he will be able to activate it because he has no trap cards in his graveyard. So he special summons it and links all three into the Phantom Knights of Rusty Bardiche. And he uses Rusty's effect. He sends Ancient Cloak to the graveyard in order to set a copy of Fogblade. He sets the Fogblade. And he has to read Ancient Cloak. Make sure he doesn't forget what it does. He ends up passing the turn back to me. And my Gamma and my Driver get banished. I draw for turn. I normal summon Time Thief Regulator, which allows me to tribute it. special summon 2 Time Thief monsters from my deck in defense position. It's kind of like a rescue rabbit for Time Thieves. So I get a Bezel Ship and a Winder. And Winder's effect activates on summon to let me search for a Time Thief card, but he activates Fog Blade to negate the effect, which is fine by me. I go ahead and Xyz summon Time Thief Redoer. I go ahead and declare an attack with Redoer onto the Bardiche to do 300 damage. Then I go ahead and activate Redoer's effect to detach to banish him until the end phase, which clears up my monster zones so that I can activate Numeron Network to send Numeron calling from the deck to the graveyard, which allows me to special summon up to 4 Numeron Xyz monsters with different names. So I go ahead and special summon all 4, even though I'm going to only use 3 of them as material. I have Memories of Hope in my hand, which allows me to draw a card for every different named number Xyz monster I control. So yeah, I just gotta draw 4 cards. No big deal. I like drawing 4 cards. I go ahead and Xyz summon Utopic Zexal. And then I go ahead and set 3 cards face down. And in the end phase, Time Thief Redoer comes back, and my extra Numeron Xyz monster gets banished. Ryan draws for turn. I detach a material from Zexal in the draw phase to prevent him from being able to activate any effects this whole turn. And then in the standby phase, I use Redoer's effect to attach the top card of his deck to Redoer as an Xyz material. He just passes, I draw, standby phase, I get his effect again to attach. I activate Bezel Ship's effect in the graveyard to detach a material from my Redoer to special summon it. Then I normal summon Regulator. I overlay them into Time Thief Perpetua. Now, if you're unfamiliar with how this works, Time Thief Perpetua can attach a material to any Xyz monster every turn as a quick effect. Even Zexal. So I declare an attack with Zexal and Redoer for 2,000 and 2,400. And then Perpetua will let me attach a material to Zexal, which I actually should have done first to give Zexal 1,000 more attack, but it really didn't matter. And you don't detach for that effect, you just do it. It's kind of stupid. So I just attach a Time Thief card from my deck to an Xyz monster I control. So I attach Time Thief Chronocorder to Zexal. Being able to do this during both players' turns not only gives Zexal infinite materials to close my opponent out of the game, but it will also increase its attack by 1,000 every time I do it. So Ryan realizes that and scoops up the game. So we're going to go ahead and get into game 2. Ryan is going to go ahead and opt to go first. He starts off by summoning Girsu, which I quickly throw down an impermanence to stop that. He activates the effect of Gizmek Orochi in his hand. Banishes the top 8 cards of his deck to special summon it. And he links away into Galatea. And unfortunately, he doesn't have a very strong opening turn. He summons Dingirsu, sets a card and passes. And in the end phase, I activate the quick effect of Numeron Wall to grab Numeron Network from the deck and place it in my field zone. I draw for turn. I activate the effect of Network to send calling. And I go ahead and special summon all 4 Numerons in attack position. So that I can push for a ton of damage. I go into battle phase. I'm going to declare an attack on the Dingirsu. I'm going to take 1600 damage, but it's going to double the attack of all my Numeron monsters. I'm going to attack into it with the second one to take 600 damage and double the attack of all my Numeron monsters. My 4000 is going to attack into Dingirsu, and he's going to detach to save it. And then my 8000 attack, Numeron is going to attack the Dingirsu. It's going to put him down to 1200 life right away. It's kind of scary. Main phase 2, activate Memories of Hope to draw 4 cards, which is just bonkers. I do play 3 copies of Memories of Hope just so I can see it. And I see it quite often. It's just really scary to draw 4 cards. That puts so much pressure on your opponent. And I set 2 cards to the back row. And I did overlay for Zexal. I didn't mention that, but it's obvious I was going to do that. During the end phase, the extra Numeron monster is going to get banished. And he's going to do a Fog Blade to try and shut off my Zexal before I can fire it off. Luckily for him, because already putting him at 1200 and not being able to play the game next turn, that was not going to be a good position for him. He normal summons the Phantom Knights of Torn Scales, which I have to read again because it's a fairly new card. I don't remember exactly what it did. He gets to discard a card and send a Phantom Knights card from his deck to his graveyard, which he discarded Danger Thunderbird, so that Thunderbird could pop one of my face down cards. Then he hits Time Thief Flyback. I wish I could use Flyback on any Xyz monster, but it can only be used on a Time Thief Xyz monster. I fast forward because he takes a little while to think about his next play. And he goes ahead and banishes Ancient Cloak, which again, he takes a while to make a decision, so I fast forward. He tries to grab a Fog Blade, but you cannot grab Fog Blade with Ancient Cloak because it's not the Phantom Knights card, it's just a Phantom Knights card. So I correct him on it after, like, I started to cut and then that's when I caught it, so I made him put it back and grab something else. So he grabs Torn Scales. He activates Gizmek Orochi in the graveyard to banish the top 8 cards of his deck face down, to special summon it again. And he links them away for Barricade Board Blocker. I was almost confused about it for a second until I realized that he needed to discard Orcust Nightmare. So it wasn't too bad. Banish the Orcust Nightmare. To target the Barricade Board Blocker. And send Simple Skeleton to the graveyard. Then he activates the effect of Symbol to special summon Girsu so that he can send an Orcust or World Legacy card from his deck to the graveyard. So he sends World Legacy World Wand. He's going to go ahead and banish it to special summon the Simple Skeleton. And link those two away into Galatea. Galatea's effect is going to put the wand back. He's going to set Orchestrated Babel. Then he's going to activate it. Then he summons Dingirsu to send my other face down, which is a Time Thief Retrograde, which isn't doing me any good right now anyway. Barricade is going to attack over the Zexal because it has 0, and then Dingirsu is going to swing in direct for 2600. Then in main phase 2, he's going to Exceed Summon Divine Arsenal AA Zeus over the Dingirsu. It's a pretty good card, especially in the position he's in, being at 1200. Then he passes the turn back to me. Actually having a difficult time trying to figure out how I'm going to play around Zeus, because he can just wipe the board at any time, and it's kind of scary. I go ahead and summon Time Thief Regulator. Activate the effect. Distribute it and grab 2 Time Thieves from the deck and special summon them. I go ahead and special summon Winder and Chronocorder. And Winder lets me search my deck. We both think and discuss some things here for a little bit, so I fast forward. But I go ahead and grab Time Thief Startup with Winder. Then he activates the quick effect of Simple Skeleton in his graveyard thanks to Babel to target Dingirsu. And instead of sending something, he just attaches the Simple Skeleton again. I go ahead and activate Time Thief Startup to special summon Bezel Ship from my hand. And I overlay the Bezel Ship and the Chronocorder into Redoer. And I do think about it for a second if I really wanted to go into Redoer, but I actually do end up going into Redoer. Thinking again, so I fast forward. And I decide to just go for it. Try to attack over the barricade board blocker for game with Redoer. Because I'm trying to fish out the Zeus at this point. Which, in order to live, that should be his only option. So he goes for it. He detaches the 2 from Zeus and wipes the whole board. And it sends, does not destroy. I end up chaining Redoer's effect to save itself. But everything else gets sent to the graveyard, including Dingirsu and Babel. This is an incredibly close game. I go ahead and just end the turn and bring back Redoer. He draws for turn. And then standby phase, I get to attach the top card to Redoer. I activate Lancia in the standby phase as well to prevent him from being able to banish anything. And I skipped forward because it took a while for him to think, longer than I was able to fast forward in a reasonable amount of time. So instead of fast forwarding, I just cut to it. He activates Danger Bigfoot. And I use the die to pick at random. And I end up hitting Danger Bigfoot. And I have to really think about this because if I let it die, I'm able to special summon Chronocorder from the graveyard. But if I dodge it with Redoer's effect, he could just summon a monster and attack me directly. So I let the Bigfoot kill the Redoer so that I can bring back Chronocorder so that I don't lose. Because Zeus has 3000 attack. He activates the effect of Babel by discarding Torn Scales. So it looks like I made the right play, because he could have summoned Scales and killed me. So he just attacks over Chronocorder with Zeus. Which, by the way, Chronocorder should have been banished, because when it brings itself back out of the graveyard, it should be banished when it leaves the field. I forgot to banish it, but I will tell you that it doesn't end up mattering. Also accidentally had his Chupacabra in my graveyard, so I gave that back to him. So I activate Numeron Network, hoping that he's going to use Symbol Skeleton to bring out Dingirsu to send the network before I can activate it. And that's exactly what he ends up doing. He fell for the bait. Because I haven't used the effect of it yet, I can activate a second one. Because I can only use the effect of it once per turn. But if I activate one and it's just sent before I do anything, I can activate the second one. So I send Calling. And I go ahead and special summon my remaining 3 Numerons. And I have just enough life to do this. So I attack into Dingirsu for 1600 to myself to double them all. Then my 2000 attack, Numeron attacks into Dingirsu to do 600 to myself to double it again. And my 4000 attack, Numeron attacks over Dingirsu for 1400 damage to close out the game. That was a really close game. I had 2 Gammas in my hand that I couldn't do anything with. So that was a really scary situation I was in. I did win 2-0, but again, this was a really close match. He could have won the game at any time. I was just barely able to hang on. And he was barely able to hang on too. He was at 1200 the entire game. So good match, Ryan. Let's do it again sometime. Thanks for watching the video, guys. Don't forget to subscribe, and we will see you next time.